and we are going to start. Hello, everyone. Thanks for joining us tonight for the pre-construction meeting for the Fanshawe Park Road and Richmond Street Intersection Improvements Project. My name is Claudia James, and I'm part of the Communications Division at the City of London. I will be your host for tonight's meeting, and I'll be the moderator for the Q&A portion of the webinar tonight. We are recording this meeting, and a copy of the presentation will be posted on the project's webpage, which is getinvolved.london.ca/Fanshawe and Richmond. We will also post a copy of the presentation and all the materials that we are sharing with you tonight. If you lose internet connection at any point during the meeting, please be reassured that you can rejoin at any time, or you can watch the recording later. We look forward to hearing from you tonight. And before we get started, I'll go over some housekeeping items. This Zoom meeting is being set up as a webinar, meaning that you can hear us and see us, but we are not able to see or hear you. The chat function has been disabled for this meeting, and we'll be focusing the discussion in the Q&A area of Zoom, which you can see at the bottom of your screen. You may use the Q&A section as well to send us your questions, your comments, or if you're experiencing any technical difficulties, you may use that tool to let us know of that. You can identify the Q&A button at the bottom of your screen, and it's just as it has the word Q&A on it. If you're on the phone listening to this webinar, you can ask your questions through the project webpage at getinvolved.london.ca/Fanshawe and Richmond. We would like to begin tonight's meeting by acknowledging that the land on which we gather is the traditional territory of the Arawandanan, Anishinaabe, Haudenosaunee, and Lenape peoples, who have long-standing relationships to the land, water, and region of southwestern Ontario. The local First Nation communities of this area include Chippewa of the Thames First Nation, Oneida Nation of the Thames, and Munsee Delaware Nation. Additionally, there is a growing population of urban Indigenous population who make the City of London home. We value the significant historical and contemporary contributions of local and regional First Nations of Turtle Island. Tonight, we'll be sharing some background information about the project and its design, and we'll provide an overview of construction and how to stay informed throughout the project. Once the presentation portion is complete, we'll open things up for a Q&A discussion. This evening, we have a variety of presenters who are joining us to give you a project update and share important information about construction and what you can expect to see this year happening. And I'd like to start with introducing Jenny Dan, who is our Director for Construction Infrastructure Services with the City of London. We also have Larry Davidson, who is the Construction Project Manager for this project. He's with the City of London as well. We have Violetta Cipian, who is the Transportation Technologies with the City of London. And we have Peter McAllister, who is the Project Manager with our consulting team. We also have panelists joining us to assist with the Q&A portion of the meeting. I would like to welcome Jeff Jongstra, which is the Senior Technologist with the City of London. And we are pleased to welcome our contractor for this project, which is LAV2. Thank you for joining us tonight, and they'll be sharing an update with the project of the project. With introductions out of the way and the housekeeping items already being presented, I'd like to hand things over to Jenny Dan, who is our first presenter for this evening. Jenny, over to you.
Thanks, Claudia. So hello, I'm Jenny Dan. I'm the Director of Construction and Infrastructure Services at the City of London. And over the next few slides, I'll be sharing an overview of the project. This year, the city's Renew London construction program will invest over $200 million in projects to support London's rapidly growing population and ensure London's infrastructure is better able to handle increasing travel demands and be more resilient to climate change. Our construction program is also focused on providing safe and accessible connections for Londoners of all ages and abilities, whether they drive, bike, walk, or take transit. The Fanshawe Park Road and Richmond Street intersection improvements is one of the top 10 projects we're constructing this year. The project aims to improve traffic flow at this busy intersection by increasing capacity. It will also improve safety and accessibility for pedestrians and cyclists, accommodate current and future transit demand, while also addressing underground infrastructure renewal needs. The project was identified through a master planning process that recognized the need to explore transportation and mobility solutions for this area. An environmental assessment was completed for this project, looking at both current and future challenges along Fanshawe Park Road and intersection functions at Richmond Street, and found the existing conditions do not provide sufficient capacity to accommodate current demand, let alone projected growth and the number of road users. And so the project is focused on increasing capacity at the intersection and along Fanshawe Park Road, with the primary benefit being an increase in east-west capacity. The recommended improvements for the Fanshawe Park Road and Richmond intersection include full road reconstruction to accommodate additional through lanes on Fanshawe Park Road and dual northbound left turn lanes on Richmond Street. It will build new concrete sidewalk, curb and gutters. It'll install asphalt in boulevard bike paths and install traffic signals, street lighting, and landscaping. And while we're at it, we're also going to upgrade and replace underground infrastructure, including water main and storm sewers. The existing intersection is a signalized stop intersection with 2 through lanes in each direction, dedicated left turn lanes, and a mix of dedicated and shared through right turn lanes, including a median separated lanes. Sidewalks and bike lanes are provided, but not continuously through each corridor. The project is needed to help alleviate the congestion and queuing that happens at the intersection, as well as providing for increased safety for people walking and biking through the area. As part of the background studies, including the EA, some have wondered why a roundabout was not proposed at this location. And while roundabouts are becoming a more reasonable and preferred alternative due to their efficiency and improved safety, in this case, the overall footprint and the size of a roundabout and the road realignments required to accommodate a larger roundabout would have been too disruptive. As a result, a more traditional intersection improvement alternative has been carried forward with special regard for active transportation infrastructure. Now since this intersection was last updated, probably in the mid-90s, this part of the city has seen tremendous growth with even more to come. And so it's important to improve travel for cars, bikes, pedestrians, while also addressing our underground infrastructure needs. We recognize that this is a busy intersection with many access points to commercial and residential areas. It also represents a main route for many Londoners commuting from Northeast and Northwest communities. The overall project limits will extend along Fanshawe Park Road from the west leg of North Center Road over to the east leg of North Center Road and along Richmond Street from Jacks Way Crescent in the south to North Center Road at the north end. So next, to provide an overview of the design, I'm going to hand things over to Peter McAllister.
Great, thanks, Jenny. Hi, everyone. I'm Peter McAllister with Dillon Consulting, project manager for this project. Jenny did a great job of providing a summary there of kind of what to expect as far as the design itself and what's moving forward into construction. But I'll just do a brief update here for those that may not have been on the previous update meetings, the design update meetings. And for those that have been at the meetings, this might be similar information, but a good refresher. So the first slide here shows the aerial view of the Fanshawe Richmond intersection, with Fanshawe running left to right. Here you'll see the proposed improvements at the intersection itself. This includes dedicated bike lanes, which is the green hatching that you'll see. And you'll see in addition at this intersection, due to the nature of the traffic and users at this intersection, we've added in truck aprons. This is the red hatching that you'll see at the intersections. This keeps the regular traffic away from the corners of the intersections where you'll see obviously pedestrians and cyclists congregate. We'll now move on to the next slide, which is the Richmond Street. Again, similar intersection, but now we've got Richmond Street from left to right. Here you'll see the dual northbound left turn lanes on the south side of the intersection. And then on the north side of the intersection, it is widened out basically to match up and line up those lanes. And again, we've got provisions for the sidewalks and bike paths on both sides of the street. Next slide. So the next couple slides, we'll just go through the cross section itself, just to give a visual representation of the road improvements. So this slide identifies the proposed road cross section, generally along the majority of Fanshawe Park Road corridor. Here you'll see that there are now 3 through lanes and the dedicated left turn lane. And at the intersection with Richmond Street, the outer curb or the curb lane, or sorry, the outer lane or the curb lane is the shared through and right turning lane. You also see on both sides of the road that we now have all new sidewalks and dedicated separated bike lanes. And this will be connecting to the recently completed bike lane work to the east and west of the project area. We'll also have new water main installed along the north side of Fanshawe Park Road with limited other servicing replacement on Fanshawe. The servicing in this area is in good condition, so it would generally be limited to catch basin replacements and relocation to the new curb lines. So I'll now move over to the Richmond cross section. Here you'll see that there were 2 through lanes in each direction, along with the dual left turn lanes, the dual northbound left turn lanes, and the dedicated right turn lane. Similar to Fanshawe, you'll see that there are the bike lanes and sidewalks on both sides of the road. Those will be all new and connecting to the north and to the south. Similar to Fanshawe, although there'll be a little bit more servicing replacement, we'll have new water main replacement along the west side of the road, as well as new storm sewer replacement, generally down the center of the road, with all other replacements generally in good condition. One thing that you may have seen out there already is that there's a number of utility relocations that have been happening. This is happening along the east side of Richmond Street and then along portions along the south side of Fanshawe Park Road. Those relocations are generally now done with some minor cleanup, and then the poles will be removed and utilizing the new location. So I'll now pass it over to Larry Davidson, and he will provide an overview of what to expect during construction. Larry?
Thank you, Peter. My name is Larry Davidson, and I will be the project manager for the City of London on this job. And I am going to talk to you about the construction overview. Generally speaking, this is going to be a 2-year job. We're breaking it into 2 phases, this year and next year. And within each phase, there are stages, which I'll get to in a minute. The overall goal is trying to be productive, and with the possibility of changing the staging if something gets found or goes awry or we find some buried treasure. It's important that the contractor has flexibility to do this, but we will be maintaining traffic 1 lane in each direction at the very minimum. Before this work begins, there's some preparation being done. You've probably noticed people out there doing locates, painting what's buried in the ground. And during the next few weeks, you're going to see crews showing up, preparing for the next stages. This includes mobilizing equipment, materials, installing temporary traffic signals and temporary street lighting, installing traffic control signage, barrels, and periodic lane interruptions are expected. However, no major traffic changes are required for this preparatory work so far. You may notice crews in the area the next week as they begin to mobilize on site on May the 15th. Next slide, please. So as I stated, phase 1 will take place in 2023, and 3 stages of construction within phase 1 in 2023. So stage 1, you can see in the diagram, it's the east side of Richmond Street, north and south of Fanshawe Park Road. That'll be the first one. And then when we can get people traveling on that, then they'll go to stage 2, which is the west side of Richmond Street, south of Fanshawe Park Road, and the south side of Fanshawe Park Road, west of the intersection Fanshawe-Richmond. So it's sort of a quadrant. And then the third stage for this year will be the west side of Richmond Street, north of Fanshawe Park Road, and the north side of Fanshawe Park Road, west of the Fanshawe-Richmond intersection. And as I stated earlier, at least one lane of traffic will be maintained in both directions on Fanshawe and Richmond during construction. Next slide. Oh, you've already got it. So phase 2 will be 2024, and it'll be basically Fanshawe Park Road east of the intersection, with stage 4 being the north side first, and then when we can put people on that, then we'll switch everybody over to the south side of Fanshawe, east of the intersection to North Center Road, basically where the McDonald's is. Next slide, please. So site safety and cleanliness are priorities with the City of London. You'll see crews street sweeping. Typical practice will be mud and dust control. We can add water to the gravel. We can put calcium chloride down, and there will be mechanical street sweeping just to keep the dust and mud down as best we can. And garbage collection will be business as usual. There shouldn't be any effect on that. Throughout the construction, the city is committed to keeping a safe and comfortable environment for all, and signage will be installed to help people walking, driving, and cycling to navigate through the construction zones. So you may experience dust, noise, and vibration during construction. We encourage people near the construction area to protect any valuables susceptible to damage from vibrations, although this is highly unlikely as this is a very new area. Lastly, on the topic of property, if at any time you have concerns about property damage as a result of construction, or if you're having trouble with excessive dust, noise, or vibrations, you can contact me. And I am pleased to tell you that L82, our contractor, has a terrific track record on this front, and we will work together to assist with any construction issues or concerns that you have. Next slide. One of the top concerns we hear from residents living near construction is the changes in traffic that it brings to their streets, in the form of cut-through traffic mainly. So similar to other years, the City of London will be applying traffic calming measures in adjacent neighborhoods to mitigate these impacts. These are typically installed late spring, once we're sure there's no more snow, which I think we're pretty sure now. And the map that you see shows, pardon me for a second. The map that you see shows in the residential neighborhood where we're going to be putting traffic calming. The yellow icons represent locations where temporary cushions or vertical markers are planned. And Claudia is pointing to those. Very good. Traffic calming resources are in high demand in the City of London. As you can imagine, this is the busiest year of construction we've ever had, and we only have so much, but we will continue to monitor traffic and look at augmenting things if needed. It's important to note that there will be changes in traffic patterns, and these traffic calming tools aren't a remedy for negative driving behaviors, but they can help to mitigate the impacts of construction. Generally, we try to reduce speeds, and therefore that it discourages people from coming through the area, and maybe they'll find an alternate route. We also want to remind residents that we have respect the limit signs. They can just go on the boulevard in the grass, and we have those for anybody that's interested. Contact me again and we can get those delivered. Next slide. So yeah, you can see here North Center Road. This map illustrates the spots where temporary traffic calming measures will be placed along North Center Road. Again, those yellow icons. And the next slide will show some good examples of typical traffic calming measures. Oh, there we go. I'm actually going to defer to Jeff Jongsma to describe these, what you're seeing, because he's the resident expert, and I'll probably call them something they shouldn't be called. So Jeff, would you mind stepping in?
Sure, for sure, Larry. Thanks for that. And thanks for doing the summary on the locations that we're looking at. So as you can see here, folks, we've got 4 different examples of temporary traffic calming measures. I'll start at the top left and go clockwise around the screen. So the first situation here we have is a single speed cushion setup. This is a new installation that we ran for a trial last year. And in this case here, it is wide enough to allow two-way traffic. Some drivers may decide to alternate, and it's entirely their preference. This one can have the effect, if drivers are alternating, can have the effect to help mitigate volumes on the road as well as speeds, just because it can be a little frustrating to try to bypass through, and drivers will have, in our experience, found their own way back to the main roads instead of cutting through the neighborhoods. Next up to the right, we have our marker stations. These are the ones we use where we're expecting larger vehicles to come through that cannot necessarily go across the speed cushions, or that would actually destroy the speed cushions because some of the heavier trucks, dump trucks and such, may end up ripping the speed cushions as we've got them installed. These are the kind of things that we'll be putting on North Center Road, north of Fanshawe, and you can expect to see those go in the next couple of days. Next up, we have a two-cushion situation down in the middle of the screen at the bottom. And these are this is the traditional setup that we've seen elsewhere in the city. Usually we have these paired with a marker on the outside, a skinny marker on the outsides between the curb and the cushions. In this case, in this specific photo, it wasn't necessary because the cushions were close enough to the curb. The road was narrow enough. You'll end up seeing this on Ambleside once we get them installed, and we will have the markers in that case. It's not going to look quite like this just because Ambleside is quite wide. And finally, where we have to restrict parking around the markers on both sides of the road, we use the one in the bottom left, which just gives a little bit more access to be able to make it around. And if this is what we use where we've got significant on-street parking on both sides, just to allow vehicles to get through while still slowing down and maneuvering through at a responsible speed. And next slide, I will pass it back to Larry.
Thanks, Jeff. That's great. And I hope that this summarizes the construction impact, any questions, the construction overview that you might have had, and I will defer back to Claudia.
Thanks, Larry. Before we get into any of the communications and how we are going to support you during construction, I'd like to touch base on transit operations. Obviously, with construction, there may be some impacts to transit operations, to drivers, to people biking or walking. And I would like to highlight that buses will still be able to operate around this area during construction. Of course, there will be some adjustments to the stops or to the routes or the schedules. And LTC will be the ones providing that information on the website and social media, but transit operations will still be accessible during construction. The LTC terminal at Masonville Mall will remain open and accessible during construction. And all the local stops within the project area will need to be adjusted during construction or as construction progresses. As Larry mentioned, this project will be built in different stages. So as those stages progressed, they will need to make some adjustment to the temporary stops. However, I would like to highlight that some of those temporary stops will be located within easy access to the main mall terminal, so people can connect and transfer as needed. Wayfinding signs will be installed to help transit riders navigate the construction zone safely and get to the bus stops as needed. The best way to stay informed about transit detours, stop changes, schedules is to follow the LTC on the LTC social media channels. You'll see them on the screen, or just visit their website for the most up-to-date information. So we have shared with you a lot of the practical ways, or we're giving you all the information about construction, how we plan to manage construction in this area this year. And before we open the floor to the Q&A, I would like to highlight some of the ways we plan to support you during construction, how you can stay informed, how you can reach the project team if you have any questions or if you have any concerns during construction. First of all, we on the screen, you'll see some of the wayfinding signs that we use for pedestrians. So this is a high pedestrian area as well, people that go to the mall or that may need to take the bus or just go for a walk. So we are planning to have some of the wayfinding signs that you see on the screen just to help people be aware of the pedestrian routes and how they can get to where they need to go. And these wayfinding signs, again, will be placed as needed within the construction zone, so pedestrians can find a pathway to navigate the construction area. And we will also be, of course, giving you as much information as possible, but we want to provide a way for you to contact us if you have any questions throughout construction, if you need any support for your business, or need any information about any issues that you're having with construction. And our team will be distributing a contact card like the one that you see on the screen. It has all the key contacts that you need for this project. So I'll get into our key contacts in a moment, but it's just basically a handy tool to keep you, just to keep that the key contacts at your fingertips at any time. So we'll have that available on the website, but we'll also be delivering or handing out hard copies for you, so you have it available. We know how important it is for you to have direct contact with the project team. And over the last 4 years, we introduced a business relations coordinator to construction or the construction project, especially in the core area. And we'll be working with James Todd. He is the construction business relations for this project as well. And James will be able to provide you with ongoing support for your business or any businesses that are impacted during construction. James is not able to join the meeting tonight, but he'll be supporting you throughout the construction season. You may reach out to him using the contact information that you see on the screen. Again, that information will be available on the contact cards that we'll be distributing, and you can also find his contact information on the project's webpage. Again, that is getinvolved.london.ca/Fanshawe and Richmond. We also have Larry Davidson. He's our construction project manager who you just met. So feel free to reach out to Larry at any point for any construction related issues, or if you want to get any of those respect the limit signs, he'll be able to support with that as well. Last but not least, there is different ways that we do from communications. Again, one of the ways that we keep people informed about the project is by providing email updates. So if you haven't yet, we encourage you to sign up for email notifications about the project. We will be sending those on a milestone base, so you know what's going on with the project, so you get the latest information. And we also share information through our social media channels. So whenever there is a major traffic change, we try to send information through social media so people know whether you live in the area or if you work in the area or if you just use that route as your main commute route daily. And we also work with media, so we send PSAs, so public service announcements, to the media whenever there is a major traffic change, so we can amplify that information to the community. We'll be also having this meeting, like we had this meeting, but we'll have the website available throughout construction. So there is an option at the bottom of the page where you can add your comments or send your questions, and we'll be monitoring that throughout construction as well. To follow the City of London on social media, you can do that by searching for City of London. You'll see that on the screen. We are on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, and there's also the website there. You can scan the code, or just on your browser, type in getinvolved.london.ca. So with that, we have finalized the presentation portion of the meeting, and we can now begin the Q&A session. I want to thank all the presenters and the panelists who are joining us tonight. And as a reminder, we are not able to hear you or see you, so we kindly ask that you use the Q&A button or the Q&A feature of Zoom to send us your questions, and we'll be responding to them as we see them coming in. So I see a couple questions here. The first question that I see is, will there be traffic flow issues east and west? Will Sunningdale Road will be kept clear? So no construction on Sunningdale during the Fanshawe and Richmond construction? Violetta, do you want to take that in? Do we have any construction plan for Sunningdale this year?
Claudia, I can probably take that one. I was just looking at our list, and there's no construction plans on Sunningdale Road for 2023. We do have some plans to start moving forward with the Sunningdale and Richmond intersection, and that'll be happening starting next year, but we have plans to coordinate the works and stagger any impacts so that we maintain traffic flow through the area.
Thanks, Jenny. Yeah, and just as Larry mentioned, throughout construction, there will be one lane of traffic open. So the intersection will still be open. It's just that you may experience some delays as we build this project. Reading through this question too. So I guess the next comment or question is about the need for adding or increasing our cycling lanes or our cycling infrastructure throughout the city. So I'm not sure then if you'd like to take that into.
Yeah, sure. So a lot of the cycling improvements that you're seeing across the city are coming from our cycling master plan. And we're really trying to create key corridors where we can encourage cycling. There's been quite a bit of work that happened improving cycling lanes along Fanshawe Park Road over the last couple of years. And some of that actually came through federal funding through the COVID stream gap. So that was something we were able to use to invest in the city. And Fanshawe is one of those key corridors where we want to improve cycling. It provides great connection to the Masonville Transit Village area, and it's an important area to be able to make sure we're providing those connections.
Thanks, Jenny. Let's see some more questions here. So will there be any advanced green lights installed at the intersection of Fanshawe to help with turning into subdivision areas? I'm not sure if Peter or Violetta will be able to respond to that, if we're having any advanced green lights at the intersection along Fanshawe.
No, it's a good question. Generally, what you see there today will be replaced with like-for-like installations. So nothing specifically to the subdivision areas. So the project limits along Fanshawe are North Center Road East leg to North Center Road West leg. So no new signalized intersections, but the ones that are there now will be replaced and upgraded. The advanced signals that you'll see mostly, which will be new, will be the dual northbound left turn lanes. So that'll be the biggest improvement to the intersection, and you'll see that as a new kind of operation in the intersection itself.
Thanks, Peter. I see another question related to bike lanes, and the person is asking whether there is a plan to extend bike lanes farther south on Richmond, if there is any future plans for that.
Yeah, that question came up earlier during the design stage. I'll maybe defer to Jenny or Violetta on this one, but my understanding it is being reviewed, certainly the south connection. And then the north connection, I believe, is subject to development timing and upgrades there, but I'm not sure if that's entirely accurate. Jenny or Violetta to comment on that one.
Yeah, if, I'm actually just looking into that to see if there are any specific plans, and I can maybe follow with an update answer when I get some more information, Claudia.
Okay, thanks, Jenny. Yeah, so if you, just the person that sent that question in, if you can please message me your email or phone number, we can get back to you on that. That's okay. I see another question. So are there any exceptions being made to the work on dates close to a long weekend? Is there a way to open flow of traffic on busy dates like weekends or long weekends? Yeah, go ahead, Larry.
Yeah, this might be a good question for Adamar if he wants to step in, but generally speaking, contractors also get the same statutory holidays as everybody else. So they won't be working on those long weekends, but Adamar, jump in if you think you want to speak to it as well. But once you close lanes down and it's holes dug and pits everywhere, it's not safe to put cars back in the construction zone. So we're forced to direct traffic away from as we have shown in the staging, do our work, get it safe to drive on again, and then flip traffic back. So hope that answers that. And Adamar, if you care to jump in, please do so. Otherwise, I'll refer back to Claudia.
Thanks, Larry.
That's correct, Larry. That's what we'll do. We'll try to get it done as quickly as possible and move on to the next stage, but we don't generally open it up on long weekends. It's wherever the construction is happening.
Thanks, Adam. Okay, so going through questions here. I see another question here about Sunningdale Road. So the person is saying Sunningdale is already a fast highway with no limits or stop signs on it. How will this be managed given more traffic? So given, is there an anticipation of increase on traffic on Sunningdale Road? And are we planning on implementing any measures to help with that traffic increase at this point?
Yeah, Claudia, anticipating the growth that's happening in the north end of the city, Sunningdale Road is on our list for improvement. So I mentioned work starting in 2024, and that'll continue on into 2025 to do improvements to increase sections from 2 to 4 lanes. There's also been work that's been happening in portions where we've added the roundabouts at Wonderland and at Hyde Park. And those are all things that we're doing to help mitigate what we know is growing traffic in the north end.
Thanks, Jenny. So I see another question here related to timing. Are we able to give some specifics to dates range of each phase so people are aware of when phases will begin, things like that? Go ahead, Larry.
Yeah, it's difficult to say exactly how long each stage is going to take because each one is a little bit unique. Some don't have a lot of infrastructure being replaced, others do. I think generally speaking, you can just say it's 3 stages, so roughly a third of the construction season. This will take us into late November, possibly early December, and with the second phase happening in 2024. Does that answer your question, I think?
I think so, yeah. So we'll be, as you said, like we'll be working through each stage and then just open things up as needed, right?
Yeah, and again, you will be doing public service announcements if there is a major change, or if you want to get the email letting you know when the staging is going to change. So again, sign up to the communications, and that's probably the best way to know.
Okay, thanks, Larry. I see another question. I think this is more operational. So will dotted lines be used for left turns so that traffic turns into the left lane and does not cross lanes? In particular, turning left from Richmond onto Fanshawe with a subsequent turn into Masonville Mall.
I can speak to that one. It's a great question, and those are implemented where we do want to control the opposing turning movements. So those are looked at depending on the location. Top of mind, I should have pulled up my drawings, kind of the skip lines, we call them, to show through the Richmond Fanshawe intersection. That would be the only intersection where that's planned to be implemented because of the opposing turns. The other intersections don't warrant putting in that type of lane marking to control traffic through the intersection.
Thanks, Peter. Larry, I see your hand up. I'm not sure if you have anything to add for that, or aside from the question before. Thank you. So I see another question. Again, I think it's operational. The northbound left turn lane onto Fanshawe Park Road is often blocked by traffic turning into the gas station. So I think it's just the Petro-Canada there, or the plaza on the southwest corner. Will there be a median to stop that traffic? I'm assuming on Richmond Street.
Yep, I can answer that one. That's exactly what we're doing. So that's part of obviously having the dual lefts there. We're trying to avoid having people trying to cross over through those turn lanes, but also as part of overall access management in the corridor, that center median will provide that control and avoid that cut across traffic that forces the queuing in behind and further to the south and risks obviously the southbound traffic cutting across that traffic. So that's exactly what we're doing there. So hopefully we'll see that improvement as part of this as well.
Thanks, Peter. I'm not sure if someone will have this information, but will red light cameras be installed at the intersection? That might be something that we have to get back to this person.
Not what we are aware right now of.
Okay. So yeah, we don't have that information right now, but we can definitely connect with our teams and find out if there is any plans to install red light cameras in that at that intersection. So if you could please send me or send us your contact information, email or phone number, we'll be happy to get back to you on that. So a business owner, so as a business owner with the street signage and mobile signs at the Fanshawe and Richmond intersection, will the signage, those business signs, will the signage remain during construction, or will they need to be moved to another location or removed during construction? Do we know if those business signs will need to be removed during construction?
Yeah, I can touch on that one, and Larry, if you wanted to jump in. So I think I know what the question is. There are a few signs up there, the temporary signs, billboard type signs. Generally, those should be located on private property, ideally, so that it doesn't conflict with the construction operations that is happening. But I would suggest, if you want to reach out to, I guess, either myself, or Jeff Scarrow, or Larry Davidson, on the specific location, just to let us know, and we can coordinate that with you as far as construction timing and possible other location for that sign. But like I said, ideally it's on private property, and you can adjust it yourself to a new location if it looks like it's going to conflict with construction.
Thanks, Peter. And I have Larry's contact information on the screen. You can either take a picture of that, or you can go on the website, which is getinvolved.ca/Fanshawe and Richmond. We have Larry's contact information there as well. And we also have James Scott, who is our business relations coordinator. So either reach out to Peter or James or Larry, and they'll be able to help out with that. I see another question here related to access to Masonville Mall. Where will the access points for Masonville Mall be during construction? Will people still be able to access Masonville at the existing access points?
Yeah, I can take that one. Short answer, yes. Plan to keep all accesses open. It is fortunate that there are multiple accesses around the property along North Center Road and Jack's Way through that area. So there will be times that certain entrances will be closed, and that's to accommodate a servicing crossing or utility crossing, paving the road or constructing the road, paving the road, signal work, things like that. So there will be intermittent blockages or closures of some entrances. Certainly be minimizing those where we can, and obviously be notifying through signage and the public notifications going out of which ones will be closed and at what time.
Thanks, Peter. I see a question too from a resident who lives just north of Fanshawe and east of North Center Road. And the person is saying that traffic is already challenging and difficult during rush hour. And they're wondering why is nothing more, so why we're not considering more traffic coming for that area. So maybe I'll pass it on to Jeff, if you want to speak a little bit more about how we're managing traffic calming and how traffic calming is assessed for each of these areas during construction.
Yeah, thanks, Claudia. I can certainly speak to that. Excuse me. Regarding the area around North Center Road, it does have commercial access. We do have medium and high density residential in the area there. There's a lot of condo developments. There's the two towers that we have in those locations as well. There's going to be a lot of volume just from the normal residential traffic accessing the area anyways. Excuse me. We are going to be putting in temporary traffic calming stations, which in this case will be markers. And the main thing is we're looking to mitigate speed, not so much volume. We have to accept that there will be volume in certain areas coming around the intersections. We can't restrict vehicles and drivers from taking roads. If it's a public road, they're able to use it. What we can do is we can manage the speeds and we can manage the volumes as best we can in order to make things a little bit easier for the residents who live in the area. One way or the other, this is the intersection of two of the most highly traveled roads in the city of London. There is a lot of traffic, tens of thousands of vehicles going through here every day, and those vehicles do have to they're going to find some way to get through one way or the other. Realistically speaking, we cannot barricade access to the streets, but we will be monitoring and trying to make things as manageable as possible. I think it's reasonable to expect that there will be times where traffic is going to resemble what it looks like at the holiday shopping periods. And with, you know, in excess of 50,000 vehicles a day using the intersection, it's really hard to make that go away. There is capacity in other arterial roads such as Wonderland and Adelaide. Sunningdale has capacity as well, and I'm certain the public will use that. So to anybody who lives on North Center Road or the surrounding neighborhoods as well, we are monitoring. We will continue to monitor through the construction season and through the duration of construction, and we'll make sure that we take appropriate measures.
Thanks, Jeff. Appreciate your response there. I see another question related, and I don't know if anyone will know this, but it seems like there are some construction plans for the Highland Plaza. Do we know, or do we have any knowledge if they will be proceeding with this construction or overlapping with this construction period? It's private development, so I don't know if anyone will know if they will be proceeding this year.
We're not aware at this moment of any construction during the city construction, the private property.
Thanks, Violetta. The next question, will zipper merge signage be used to help with traffic flow? So we do have zipper merge signs available, but maybe I'll pass it on to Larry, because we find for opportunities to place them where it makes sense to help, you know, people, just to help remind people how important it is to zipper merge and how efficient it is when there are reduced lanes. So Larry, I don't know if there's anything you want to add about that.
No, Claudia, you're absolutely correct. And thanks for the question, Anne. They do work, and we'll probably bring them out on an as needed basis, but I would say it's pretty much guaranteed that we'll be putting some of those up.
Thanks, Larry. So I see another question related to traffic volume. So what is the traffic volume for eastbound right turn movement under future conditions? And what is the percentage of total eastbound traffic? To my knowledge, there is high demand for eastbound right turning movements, and there may be traffic operation issues eliminating dedicated right turn lane. I'm not sure, Jenny, if you would be able to speak to that.
Yeah, I can't speak to the specific traffic volumes, but just in terms of what was considered at the environmental assessment stage, but the primary benefit of the project is really to increase the east-west capacity. And so that's meant to make the entire intersection work better. And it extends right over, as we mentioned earlier, from North Center Road to North Center Road, and adding that third lane so that we can really move the traffic through the intersection. But we really had to be careful and scrutinize where we added additional lanes. The Fanshawe Park Road and Richmond intersection, they're both classified, those streets, as in our official plan as main streets. And so it means that we have to take a very careful look at what the impacts are from a pedestrian perspective. Since we are going to be adding those 3 lanes in each direction, including additional lanes isn't going to necessarily help the intersection work better. So every additional lane increases the cycle time required in the opposite direction because of the walking time that it takes for pedestrians to cross. And so if we think about the fact that we have over 1,000 pedestrians at this intersection, we looked at that, and really what ends up happening is if you add those extra turn lanes, you're adding green time to the cycle, whether there's pedestrians there or not, and that's really going to affect the overall cycle time of the intersection. So a lot of thought went into trying to optimize the intersection to really improve its capacity overall. And so that's some of the thoughts that went into that decision making.
Thanks, Jenny. The next question, I get another question here about bike lanes. So will bike lanes on Western Road be connected up to Jack's Way? Will they extend all the way to Jack's Way on Richmond?
Yeah, actually, Claudia, we don't really have any of our experts, active mobility engineers on the call right now. So maybe what we can do is, I'm seeing a lot of specific, the bike lanes connect to here to there. What we'll do with anybody of those, we have your contact information with the Q&A submitted, and we'll get back to you and give you some specific answers from our active transportation manager, if that's okay.
Thanks, Jenny. A comment here about long weekends, and the person is basically saying it would be great to have more specifics on the projects and the dates as we approach long weekends for business owners and local homeowners and commuters. And from our communications perspective, yeah, we will do we do send communications out so you know what to expect from the project, what the timelines are, and especially when there is like a major traffic change, we utilize our social media channels, our email contacts. So that's why we're encouraging you to sign up for email updates if you haven't yet, because that's another avenue that we use to communicate about any traffic changes, about any interruptions or things like that. So especially for businesses, if you own a business, that's a great tool to stay informed of the project. And again, I have James's contact information there. So if at any point during construction you have specific needs or specific questions about the project timelines, you may reach out to James or Larry, and we'll be able to provide you with the latest information about the project as we get through construction. So I see a question here related to Adelaide Street. I'm assuming that will be Adelaide Street North. And the person is saying, I believe construction in Adelaide Fort Water is planned. Will that project coincide with the present planned? Do we know anything about any projects planned for water on Adelaide? Maybe we can get a little bit more information from the person on this question.
We can confirm that. Just looking at our list for the next few years ahead, I don't see anything that will conflict with this project. If there is work, it's outside of the timeline that this project will be happening.
Thanks, Jenny. I just see a quick comment here from someone about the presentation. So thank you for your comment here. So will there be any changes to the intersection of Plain Tree and Richmond? Cars come from the country at high rates of speed, and once you eliminate lanes at Fanshawe, it will make that turn challenging. So what happens during construction and what happens after? Do we know any?
Yeah, I can jump in on that. I just actually had to double check where Plain Tree was. So that's just north of North Center Road. It is outside of the construction limits, the project limits for this project specifically. So by that point, any lane transitions from the work on Richmond to North Center Road, it will be transitioned back to the existing cross section there. So nothing's planned. I guess the only thing we would say is that we could monitor it during construction just to see kind of what impacts are there, and may have to adapt kind of during construction if we're seeing significant impacts. Hopefully that answered it.
Thanks, Peter. And the last question I see here is, what is the plan and level of finished reconstruction for the remaining area outside of the road allowance of the previous Hakeem Optical property on the southeast corner of the intersection? Are we utilizing that whole space where Hakeem used to be?
Yeah, I can touch on that. Just there's two parts to that. One is during construction, that area is planned to be used for staging area, site trailer, and whatnot. So certainly for the next two construction seasons, that area will be occupied and be used. Once construction is completed, we will look to restore it. We're not quite sure kind of what the end finish will look like. I know there has been talk about kind of interim plans for that, because it is a remnant parcel. The city will have to decide ultimately what to do with that parcel of land. So we don't quite actually have the answer on kind of what it will look like in the interim. But certainly once construction is done, the area will be cleaned up, restored to a clean condition. And then beyond that, a decision will have to be made.
Thanks, Peter. The last comment seeing here from a resident, they're saying great project and I look forward to seeing it complete. Thank you. I don't see any more questions, but maybe we can stay here for a couple more minutes just to give people the opportunity to ask any other questions if they have any. In the meantime, maybe I'll just go back to this slide here. So again, you can scan the code to go straight to the website, or on your browser, you can type in get involved at london.ca/Fanshawe Richmond. And that's where we will be posting a copy of this, a copy of the recording of this meeting, as well as a PDF version of the presentation. And while you're on the website, you can also sign up to receive email notifications about the project. And you can, again, follow the city on social media for any updates on construction. You can also reach out to Larry or James if you own a business, or if you have any questions about the project, and they'll be able to assist with any needs that you have, or answer any questions about the project timelines, or anything that you may need for your business or access points during construction. I want to thank all the attendees for joining us tonight, as well as the panelists and the presenters. And we'll wrap things up right now. I don't see any more questions, so thank you so much for joining us. And we look forward to hearing from you as we get to construction. Thank you. Bye. Good night.